Test 1, 2. You could probably hear me now. Wow. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah. Sorry for the lateness. This is my mobile setup had some different issues. It's funny because my computer was set up for the more elaborate setup I have at home. Welcome to my parents' Florida home. Sorry for the lateness. So that's where I'll begin. Good morning. Good to see everybody. Thank you for showing up despite the time change. And to those of you who are new, I know there are plenty of those. Good morning. This is what I call the project, at least, is the Chakkalo Report, and just where I bloviate for usually the first 5 minutes, but I went well over that now. And then spend the next 20 minutes or so just going back and forth on different headlines that interest me, that I want to comment on. But little intro about me is that work comes first. So that's why there was a time change today. I have to head to a conference just, in about a half hour. So I wouldn't be able to stream at my typical 8 a.m. Cool. So let's get to it. I have what to say. I have what to say. Virginia passing those lines yesterday is disgusting to me. All right. So I want to show, if you guys see this map, this is wild stuff. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What is the downside to arbitrarily drawing lines in 90-degree formats? Just splice up a regular district in 1 mile increments or something like that, and then just make them straight lines, no curves, straight lines. What is the problem with that? This is crazy. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's look at this. Window capture, Virginia vote. Yeah, just a full-out grid, Nancy. Exactly. It's like, what is the problem with that? If any. I'm sure there is one, but like there's I look at this. That's the current Virginia map, and that's the redistricted map. Just look at that. Just look at that. And I hope they have the previous presidential election in here. No, they don't. I want to see. Here it is. This is the state, Harris-Trump. And that's the proposed map that passed last night. To be clear, this is a power grab by the Democrats in Virginia and their newly quote-unquote moderate elected governor to strip 4 seats away from the GOP. If this is how the state voted in the last election, how are you going to come back and tell me this is more representative of the state? So that's my little spiel about that. Now, either party is not innocent here. The egregiousness of both parties suck. It's just that usually happened every 10 years, right? In this case, I will say the GOP came up with mid-decade redistricting. So they brought this upon themselves between squeezing out something in Texas, squeezing out something maybe in Indiana. California shot back, sort of. But this is not representative democracy. No. This is the two-party system polarizing us further and entrenching themselves in more control. That is just egregious violation of American values. Cannot happen. And who is it up to? Ultimately, Virginians voted for it. Virginians voted for it. But this is only part of our system as long as we let it be. I just can't believe that this is representative. That's sort of the oxymoron of the whole thing. Virginians voted for it, but it disenfranchises a ton of Virginians, like we just saw on that presidential map. It's whatever. That's what I have to say about that. I saw that headline yesterday, and I'm like, no, oh no, this is just horrible, horrible. It's just, and you know what else is going to happen? Now it's just going to continue the fight. Now, Alabama will do it, and Indiana will actually pass theirs, and then what? We're left with a more unrepresentative government. And if a certain district wants to stay red or stay blue, all they have to do, maybe not even mid-decade, maybe mid-year or mid-cycle, redistrict again. Come on, guys. Something like that. But just make it a grid. And I look forward to reading the comments a little later to engage with that. Another side point, I did prepare something to pre-record and stream live at 8 a.m. But again, I like I like, and I know you guys like the interaction I have with the comments later on. So I wanted to keep that going. Alrighty. Okay. I mean, something I'm sure we all saw coming. Taco, TACO. Trump always chickens out. CNN reports why Trump's latest blink on Iran could be more than a Taco Tuesday. I guess we all expected Trump to extend his deadline of the Iran ceasefire yesterday, and I mean CNN Stephen Collinson has an article out saying the headline I just read out, beginning with the words, President Donald Trump blinked again by extending the ceasefire with Iran after he warned, quote, no, Mr. Nice Guy. We know Trump's not going to, quote unquote, wipe out a civilization. It's just, our military won't follow through. Put it that way. I have a ton of confidence in our military that they'll never execute an order like that. Even with the yes men around him, the yes men are not in the military. The yes men are in the cabinet levels. Ultimately, they're not the one doing the attacks, right? So, about that CNN piece, Trump is, I guess, trying to pitch this again as a victory of sorts because Iran's leadership is seriously fractured. Of course, he's going to extend the ceasefire. But that spin of Trump is hurting his and the United States' credibility when it comes to following through on what the United States threat is to foreign adversaries or adversaries in general. Perhaps that's the strategy. You can't believe the president, but you can't not believe the president. So I heard something else. Being that I'm driving now at the 8 a.m. hour yesterday. So Michael Smerconish says Congress should vote to give the president the AUMF, the authorized use of military force, to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Great. Now, Chris Cuomo had on Rand Paul. Rand Paul said, I voted with the Democrats on this. They should not. It was interesting to hear that the day after Senator Fetterman was on Smerconish's program saying that we should. The fact that Fetterman is voting for it and then Paul against it, it's funny how they counterbalance. But I cannot disagree with Rand Paul more. No, I couldn't disagree with Chris Cuomo more. Here's why. Chris Cuomo said, if Tony Herbach, you should be busy. Anyway, Tony Herbach is the happy housewife, everybody. Give her a shout out. She's running the conference I'm supposed to be at. Anyway, I'll be there I'll be there in about an hour. Where was I? Chris Cuomo. He said that if the Congress doesn't authorize further use of military force after the May 1st deadline and the War Powers Act is invoked, this will give Trump the ultimate get out of jail free card because Trump should be out of Iran and wants to be out of Iran. And if Congress delivers that to him, then he could just say, hey, Congress didn't give me the authorization. Technically, 2/3 of each house or a veto-proof majority have to be there to force him to stop any military action just because they feel like it. Meaning, the way they invoke the War Powers Act is each house has to pass a bill invoking the War Powers Act and saying, Trump, get out of this war. Trump can veto that bill, and a veto-proof majority can further it into law, can override the veto. I don't think that Trump would veto it. I mean, think of it. Trump would then have to sign it. How would that look? But he would say, hey, Congress is stopping me from doing that. Ham White, I will. Ham White, yeah. I'm gonna get my coffee once I hit the conference. How's that? Okay, so let's dive into one more topic. One more topic here. So remember that. So the Louisiana shooter that I was telling you guys about. Remember, I was in this conundrum of, is it a matter of less regulation, where a father of 6 and one of his nieces or nephews also were murdered by him, or is it a matter of just mental health? Does the government really have a say in what kind of threshold should they intervene and maybe intervene in firearm ownership? It's a sad case, and the government should make sure that society is the best and the safest it could possibly be. But how can it make sense for the government to just say, hey, we're going to take a gun away if someone's domestic dispute is open and running? It turns out a man is charged with providing a gun to the Louisiana shooter who did that. The New York Times is reporting. Now that's something you could go after. Illegal gun distribution. I'm all for government intervention of regulating responsible gun purchases and distribution, but be it gifting or loaning. I'm all for that. I'm not for government intervening in who can own a gun and what is the right reason to own a gun and so on and so forth. This is actually, you know what? This is a headline directly from the DOJ. Western District of Louisiana. On April 21st, yesterday, the U.S. Attorney's Office charged Charles Ford, a 56-year-old resident by criminal complaint, being a felon, and making a false statement to federal agents with the firearm and false statement charges relating to firearm that Shamar Elkins used to perpetrate his April 19th mass shooting. So the ATF is engaged in holding people accountable for illegal possession, the statement reads. And if this gun was provided illegally, then for sure this is a matter of government intervention that should be enhanced to mitigate things like this. 7 kids, 6 of his own. Unquestionable for me. Unquestionable for me. Now that question has been resolved. Robert, the Supreme Court has a case last term as far as what? I mean, was it the subject matter of? Well, there was definitely the Bruin case in New York that, of course, spoke volumes to me. But that had to do with showing good cause to own a gun. Now, unless you were talking about something else, I'm not sure what else would have related to this. So Macaroni, right? And now I'm transitioning to engage with the comments for the remainder of the stream. How horrible and tragic, I know. But it's just how the story evolved. So Monday morning stream, I went into how the tragedy shaped by my political ideology for or against or nuanced in gun ownership in this country. What kind of questions I was pondering. Now, with this new information that happened, I see it as plain and simple. Distribution is definitely within the realm of the government. Determining who's worthy and who's not worthy of a gun is a bridge too far when it comes to Americans and their Second Amendment rights. Okay, let's see what you guys have been saying. Okay. Falcon Steph talking to Harvey. Harvey is saying early is great. Well, that's okay. So I think you're talking about the time of the stream. You see, usually I wouldn't pull the stream back this early because the 7 to 8 o'clock hour is when I'm really a dad and get to love and hug my kids. So I wouldn't give that up for the world, guys. That's just it. I love you guys, but I love them more. So you'll understand that. Alrighty. Jamal, gerrymandering must be banned. All districts should be created to be party neutral. So Jamal, does that mean a grid filled out by 90-degree angles? Grids, no subjectivity to them. I'm in favor of that. Maybe there's some practical implications of doing that where it wouldn't be possible, meaning, let's say a state is districted for 10 seats and you have these big, squares. Maybe it encompasses too many people to capture the entire, the real sentiment of the district, meaning one representative will represent too many people just because it has to be in a square format or a rectangle format. I don't know, but it should be arbitrary. That I'm with you. It should be arbitrary. It should be standard. Both of those things. Alrighty. Robert, something tells me it doesn't compare to the weird spiral gerrymander that Pennsylvania used to be until the Supreme Court got involved. Yeah, so the Supreme Court getting involved in redistricting, I mean, that just speaks to how sad it is, right? You have to sue the government to say you're disenfranchising people too much and you're taking it too far by drawing the map the way you did. Guys, it speaks more to the issue of redistricting and gerrymandering as it stands. Ham White, the problem with all forms of mapping is having equality in numbers, representation, dividing the population. All maps have some form of bias, but you cannot make any equal. I agree, it would be better. So, Ham, speak more to the problem of an arbitrary grid or objective grid. Let me know what you think there. The current gerrymandering war is directly a fault of taxes spread by DJT. Jamal, I disagree with you. The current, well, okay, I would say this phase of the gerrymandered war is the direct responsibility of DJT. Yes, I would say gerrymandering in general, both sides are equally liable. Mid-district, or the fracturing of the norm that it happens by the end of the decade, that is the direct fault of DJT, which, yes, you're right. You're right on that regard. Nancy Lawrence, it is out of control. It absolutely is out of control. The opinion piece on CNN about the ceasefire extension is considered Desert Sunset. What do you mean? Tammy Moran, Trump is like the boy who called Wolf. People stop believing. Yeah. Again, Tammy, that could be a method to the madness here. It could be. That's just, I guess, the way Trump wants to conduct himself. Listen, I'm no fan of that kind of leadership, but he's the one that's the duly elected commander-in-chief, isn't he? All right. Antique X-ray. Mr. K is hot. Who's Mr. K? I missed that memo. Harvey, as long as we have leaders who refuse to accept the loss of an election, both parties will be looking for ways to overpower the other through political gimmickry. Well, hey, Trump's going to be out soon and not going to have an election to dispute. I hope. Jamal sending Tony his love, everybody. Tony's great. Tony's great. She's a fellow e-commerce and content master. So she is right up in my wheelhouse when I go to my real job, right? So Ham White, I addressed the coffee. Harvey, DJT is in this war all by himself. He'll veto anything he doesn't like. We need Republicans to finally tell him that he is naked as the day he was born. Harvey, that your comment assumes he doesn't want a get-out-of-jail-free card from Congress. If he wants the get-out-of-jail-free card, all he has to do is sign that bill into law. I think if he leaves things as is and doesn't apply pressure to the GOP to make sure he is empowered to keep this war going unilaterally, or I guess it wouldn't be in that case, Congress will gladly deliver him that stop the war card. But if they do that, if they invoke the War Powers Act and stop him from using military force, Senator Fetterman's point of the Democrats sending the message of, don't worry, Iran, we're going to have your back and stop Trump and allow you to get a nuclear weapon. That perspective is still there and it's powerful. It's destructive to the world order. Iran cannot have the nuclear weapon. We're there. We're going to have to get the job done, make the world safer, and prevent these crazy mullahs from having unfettered access to whatever violence they want to have through their proxies and so on. North Korea is bad enough. Is that not a model to see how bad this can get? That's my little opinion about that. Jamal speaking to me saying, I saw one report that said he was a convicted felon and ineligible. I guess that means for a firearm. That's really horrible. That's really, and convicted felon. I guess there are some fringe cases that you could be a convicted felon but still reasonably own a firearm. But even that, it's horrible. It's horrible. It blazed by me. I think Sue Ann just said, Ham White, I asked further to speak about redistricting. You already did. All right, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can realize during a stream I can't read every single comment. I'll go back to it, though, when I can read it at my own speed. Sorry, Ham. I think I saw a comment by Sue Ann saying, correct me if I'm wrong, intervention is not something relating to gun ownership. I liked the comment. Here it is. Intervention is not regulation. Agreeing with me, and to what depth might the shooter have descended? I'm going to focus on the first part. Intervention is not regulation, but it is. because if you intervene in, let's say, someone's gun ownership and who can own a gun and who can't, I think that's overreach of regulation. But if you're somewhat reasonable, saying, hey, listen, somebody who's been arrested for premeditated murder and is out on parole can't own a gun. I mean, I mean, I'm with you here, right? That's just reasonable, just the way it works, right? Um, okay, Suhain, my kids are lucky. Thank you, Suhain. Thank you. Um, all righty. Let's take a couple more. Desert Sunset, I agree. I do not agree. The Dems think Iran should have a nuke. They want the return of rule of law and the president conferring with Congress. So, Desert Sunset, why are there weekly votes for them to bring up this War Powers Act? And if successful, would stop the president from pursuing this war. Why? Are they wishing to impose the power of Congress on the presidency, which they can do legally? They can. Um, but it's sending the message to the Iranians saying, hey, you have a mutual enemy with us Democrats. And I guess whichever Republicans are slowly but surely jumping ship and opposing the president. That's the reality of it. Now, if it's intended that way, I don't know, but that's the reality of it. Last one, and I'll call it quits. We got to go to work, right? Ham White to Jamal. States vary on laws allowing felony ownership of firearms. Consider this was Louisiana. I guess that's a fair consideration. Everybody, have the best day. There'll never be another day like it. And I hope to see you Friday back at the original setting. For all the newbies, thank you so much for coming, joining in. Hit the subscribe button below.